Welcome to the ISI Iron Sharpens Iron podcast. I am your host, Jeremy. We're going to do us another on my way to work. Um, we're going over John 9 this week in our ISI Bible study. And I was listening to it on my way to work. What I'm doing right now, I'm listening to it and I was like, oh, there it is. Okay. All right. I got you, God. So I'm listening to chapter 9, and I it just jumped off the page right there at the beginning. The chapter 9, if you're not aware, starts off with the man that the blind man that Jesus heals, and if you've studied the Bible any year, you've probably heard that story. Um, but the disciples, as they're traveling through this town, they see this blind dude. He's a beggar. He's a blind beggar, and they turn and look at Jesus and they say, "Who sinned? Was it his parents or was it the man?" And what they're getting at is, all right, he's blind for a reason, and it must be that he had sinned, because this is the way they rationalize bad things happening to people. I'm assuming. Um, I'm assuming that's why they said these things. Who sinned? And Jesus says, "It is not that this man sinned, or his parents, but that the works of God may be displayed in him." I can't tell you how many questions I've got from people who are non-believers, and one of one of the most common questions I've heard is, why do bad things happen to good people? Well, people don't want to hear this, but there's no such thing as a good person. We're all sinners. So we got to get that out of the way first and foremost. So the question goes to, why do bad things happen to good-ish people, if you will? So why is that? Well, it says there in chapter 9, it doesn't mean that someone has sinned, um, but something could happen to someone get cancer, someone be murdered, um, you know, somebody get pregnant, or there's who knows how many things out there, and you go back and you're going, why did this happen? Why? How could God, if there was a God, that's what people say. If there is a God, why did he allow this to happen? For his glory. And people don't want to hear that, but it's a fact. You're going to see God's good works through good and bad. When something bad happens to somebody that we think is good, it just tears us up. Like, oh my goodness, I can't believe, like, Joe was such a good person. Why did he get cancer? God's good works will show through there. Now, here's the thing. God's good works will show through there, but that does not mean that it's exactly what we want to happen in that time frame. Or it might not be what we want to happen at all. Let's just say somebody gets bad sick. We'll take my mama, for instance. When I was 12 years old in November of 1996, my mama was diagnosed with stage 4 bone marrow cancer. Now, at 12 years old, I don't know nothing about nothing. I know that it's pretty dire seeing the reaction of the adults around me. And I vaguely remember our pastor at the time joining with us, with our family, my mom and daddy, my sister and me, and praying for us there at the end. Because fast forward to the end of March, 4 months later, my mama's on her deathbed. Now, I remember thinking, I don't want to lose my mama. I don't know if I prayed for it. I'm sure at the time, as I was a pretty good Christian at that time. I mean, whatever a pretty good Christian is, what I consider to be a pretty good Christian kid. I'm sure I prayed that the Lord not take my mama, but in the end, He called her home. Now, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, but I don't know why, but I never questioned why God took my mama away on my 13th birthday. Never asked. I never thought about it, really. Well, don't want to say I didn't think about it, but I never questioned God's intention. And I don't know if the roots, if the roots, my Christian roots had been seated well enough, or I don't know why. I don't know why I never questioned that. And maybe it was just because I was a kid and I didn't know to question it, but I never questioned it, and I've never questioned it. I just figured, hey, back then I thought, oh, my mama's an angel. Well, she ain't. Um, just because you die doesn't mean you go to heaven, become an angel. That's not biblical. People say it all the time, but I'm not even going to get into that. But I do remember thinking, this sucks. This sucks. I lost my mom. This sucks. But a lot of people lose their faith when something traumatic like this happens. When some life altering event happens. And we should go back to this. It's all for God's glory. It's all to show God's good works. If God had let my mama live, that would have been his good works. Instead, God brought my mama home. Also his good works. And that's a tough one to wrap your head around. It's a very, very tough thing to wrap your head around. But it's right there. It's right there in red letters, right there in John 9. If you're a Bible believing Christian, such as myself, that's the only answer we need. Why do kids get cancer? Why do grandpas get taken early? Why do mamas and daddies get, why do kids get pulled away from their parents? It's all for God's glory. It's all to show us God's good works. And even though we don't recognize God's good works, a lot of the times we don't recognize it. That's exactly what it is. And I'm telling you, that one right there, I tell you what, something about this book right here. I say something about this book. Like, I don't know. Yeah, the disciple said, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Doesn't mean anybody sinned. "Rabbi, why did why did my mama get taken? Who sinned, my mother or her parents?" Nope, doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that at all. It is not that this man has sinned or his parents, but that the works of God may be displayed on him. And when somebody dies, we need to look for the good works for somebody left behind. And I hate to harp on this because there's a lot of controversy around it right now, but with like Charlie Kirk, his wife jumped up there and kept moving forward. And I believe we're going to see good works out of her in lieu of him. So, yeah. It's a good one to think about. It's a good chapter. It's a very good chapter. I mean, there ain't a bad chapter in the Bible. I say it. I say it every week when we do our study. Oh, boys, this is a good one. This is a good one. Yeah, every last one of them are good. Every last one of them are good. Chapter 9's very good. Yeah, it's my thoughts tonight. Y'all getting the word? Y'all stay prayed up. And y'all have a blessed week. We'll talk to y'all later.